Last week, Father Tom spoke to us about preparing for life after death, because none of us knows the day nor the hour. So with that in mind, I have a question for you. What do you want to hear the Lord say to you when you meet Him? Seriously, think about that. What do you want to hear the living God say to you when you see Him face to face? I know what I want to hear. Well done, my good and faithful servant. Come share your master's joy. Or, for short, well done. That's what I want to hear. And I have Father Dan Nussbaum to thank for that. Father Dan was my spiritual director, and we met on a regular basis. And we were meeting one time about a year after my ordination. And I was kind of lamenting to him that some of the shine had worn off this whole deacon thing. And I was wondering aloud, what am I supposed to be doing? I mean, I work at the parish full time. I do a little bit of pastoral work, I preach a little bit, I do a fair amount of administration. But for some reason, all of a sudden, it seemed kind of bewildering. So Father Dan said to me, well, Reverend Deacon, that's what he called me. Reverend Deacon, what are you? I said, I'm a deacon. He said, no. You are a servant of God. And what are you to do? And I said, well, I do this and I do that. No. You are to do two things. Care for God's church and love God's people. End of session. And every time I saw him after that, I would say, hi, Father Dan. And he'd say, well, hello, Reverend Deacon. And how is God's church in Clark Lake? And I said, cared for. Good. And how are God's people in that fine town? And I said, they are loved. Wonderful. I think about that every time I come through the doors of this church. And being a servant isn't just reserved for deacons or priests or religious. God calls all of us to be servants, and He gives each one of us an individual mission that only we can carry out. And He gives us everything we need to do it. It's not always easy, you know that. But God is with us. At the end of the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus gives His disciples a mission. He says, go. Do what? Make more disciples. Baptize them. Teach them. And He tells them, behold, I am with you always until the end of the age. With Jesus, mission is expected. It's not an option. And it's in the mission that we serve. We may get results, we may not get results. We might not know if we get results. But it's in the trying that we love. And it's in the trying that we multiply the talents the Lord has given us. But we don't always do that. Sometimes we encounter obstacles. One big one is fear. We heard about that third servant who buried his master's money. He told his master, it was out of fear that I did it. And we find out in that parable that inactivity isn't always the safe option we think it is. We could lose what we have. Picture a treadmill. Let's call it the eternal treadmill, if you will. You're on the treadmill. You're moving. And sometimes you just feel like, I'm not getting anywhere. But if you look at the console in front of you and you see the miles or the number of steps adding up, you realize, I am getting somewhere. But if you stop on a moving treadmill, what happens? Oh, you'll still move. Woo, slide off the back sometimes. Believe me, I know. To be faithful disciples of Jesus, we need to continue to move toward God, because if we don't, we'll fall away from God. And to be faithful disciples of Jesus, sometimes we need to be brave and to take risks for the kingdom of God. Sometimes they're big risks. Lord, I feel you calling me to move, or to take a different job, or to look into a vocation, maybe be a deacon, or a priest, or maybe to get married, whatever it is. Sometimes the risks are smaller, but they're very, very significant. Like making the sign of the cross over your $1 double cheeseburger at McDonald's, and Father Dan used to tell us. Don't be afraid to take those risks. Sometimes we can get discouraged. Oh, Jesus, I want to do all these great things for you, and I see all these people around me doing these wonderful things, and what am I doing? Nothing. I'm not doing anything. Why bother? You've heard of a man named Solanus Casey by now, right? He was ordained in 1904 as a simplex priest, meaning he wasn't allowed to hear confessions, he wasn't allowed to preach, because he struggled in his studies. Later on in his priesthood, he was assigned to St. Bonaventure Monastery in Detroit as a doorkeeper. This priest is really a glorified receptionist. Did he get discouraged? I don't know. Maybe he did. But he carried out his mission, and he did it well. He welcomed God's people. He loved them. He prayed with them. And then he went outside the walls of the monastery into the city of Detroit. And he helped the poor, and he fed the hungry. What was he doing? Caring for God's church and loving God's people. He may not have had as many talents as his brother priests or other people around him, but he used what the Lord gave him for the kingdom of God, and the return on investment was incredible, as evidenced yesterday in his beatification. So as we approach Advent, consider the gifts and the graces and the talents the Lord has given you, and ask Him to use them for His glory. And purposefully and prayerfully ask the Lord to reveal more and more of His personal mission for you. And know that He will answer you in some way. Maybe He'll speak to your heart directly, or maybe through Scripture, or maybe through another person, a spiritual director, a deacon, a priest, a friend, whatever it is. Know that the Lord will lead you and guide you and give you everything you need to carry out the mission He has for you. And may you be the servant of God that God calls you to be. And may you realize, putting aside all fear and discouragement, realize that Jesus Christ is with you always. And may you one day, who knows when, but one day, hear the Lord say to you, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. Come share your master's joy." And as Father Dan would say, Amen.
Amen.